And now you will hear from the group that really you probably deal with on your contract administration on a day-to-day basis. We are very fortunate to have the State Director of CGI, James Van Loan, here with us today. And I am sure if you don't have any other questions, this is the group you probably have to deal with more in your contract renewals and your management reviews and all of the various correspondence you get. And sometimes you wonder why things are done. Well, this is a gentleman that can tell you what he does and why he does it. James?
Hello, everybody. Good to see a lot of familiar faces out there. I know it's been a challenging year and a bit since we last spoke. Certainly for CGI ourselves, in regards to Sandy, we were hit pretty hard as well. So we understand your pain. Our office was hit pretty hard. We were homeless for a while. We went out to Brooklyn, went back to Manhattan, finally got back into lower Manhattan about Christmas time. So it's a pretty good odyssey for us. We learned a lot. We certainly understand what's happening on the ground. We've had our own members affected with losses, so we understand the constraints that you're under, the things that you're trying to work through. So if there's any help that we can provide, please let us know. We'll do our best to work with you. As Al spoke of some of the challenges in the PBCA world over the past almost 3 years now, it seems. It seems like a very long trip. But the process is what it is. We can only work within it. Right now, we're still here. We plan on being here. Willing, HUD, and we'll continue to work on the objective that Al stated. It's been going for 13 years now, and we think it works pretty well. Clearly, the removal of the management and occupancy reviews was a big change for us. As much as it sometimes could be seen as a little bit of an adversarial relationship, we're out there rating your properties and putting in findings in place. We always hoped it wasn't seen that way. We know that the work that you folks put in on a daily, monthly, yearly basis to keep your files up to date, to make sure you're admitting the proper people, all that good stuff that went on and is verified in the MOR process. We know it was a point of pride for a lot of people, and many of you had great reviews, above averages, exceptionals, a lot of strong satisfactories, and we know that those going away, it's a bit difficult for you as well. You want that knowledge that, yes, I'm doing it right. Our operation is strong. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So it was sort of a natural progression, in the absence of the MORs, to move into our technical assistance program, as Al spoke of. It's something we're very proud of. It's a free service. Max asked, who can I call? You certainly call your contract specialist at CGI, your management assessment specialist, the folks that used to come out to perform the MORs, and we'll be glad to set something up for you. It's been going on for almost a year and a half now. You should have heard from us. If you haven't, please give us a call. If you have heard and we've been out and you'd like us to come out again, great, give us a call. If you want us to come out 3 times, we'll do our best to work together and satisfy all your needs. And these programs are offered in the areas that you want to learn about. We're not coming out to perform an MOR anymore. We don't need to look at your files. We don't need to hit our checklist of things. We want to go over what you want to go over. If you want to learn more about EIB, let us know. We'll tailor a program for that. If you want to learn, beef up your tenant selection plan, we can work with you on that as well. And if you would like us to look at your tenant files, and at this point, maybe that's something that's beneficial to a lot of you, let us know. We can do that. We're going to talk about best practices. We're not going to talk about deficiencies and findings, and this would be great this way if we performed an MOR. We can't do that. We have to tiptoe around that and talk about best practices, what you're doing right, and some things we might think you could put into place to strengthen your processes on site. To date, in the year and a half, we've performed over 500 individual TAP, as we call them, Technical Assistance Program meetings on site across the state. So we have had a lot of interest out there, and And we continue to hope that you'll take us up on this opportunity to come out and meet with you. Again, it's free. They say on TV, there's no, you don't have to buy anything. No salesman will call. Honestly, we won't. That's one phase of our technical assistance. The second phase that we put into place probably about 6-8 months ago are individual webinars that we provide, again, free of cost. These trainings are tailored to a specific topic over about an hour and a half, where you can sit at your site over an internet connection and get some free training. We've done some on EIV, tenant selection plan. We have one coming up soon on everybody's favorite budget-based rent increase submissions, so be on the lookout for that. If you are subscribed to our PDCA NY newsletter, or you go to our website, it will be front and center soon when it's coming up, and you can register for that. So that we've done, I think, about 5 or 6 of those over the past year. And the feedback we've gotten has been very positive. And we'd like to keep sending them out there for you, because we know that coming into our office or another office or having us go out on site sometimes doesn't work. You're all very busy. So these webinars give us a chance in an hour or two to really go over a lot of information, take your questions, hopefully answer some things that you've been wondering about. So, and our third phase, which is a really neat phase in my opinion, is these small group workshops. We've hosted some at our office in Lower Manhattan before Sandy happened. We've also had the opportunity to go out to certain sites where owner agents have been generous enough to offer their space up for approximately 8 to 10 owner agents in a general region to come together and really just talk about what their issues are. It's a collaborative basis. We're certainly going to present some information while we're there, but really what we get the most out of these sessions is hearing from you. Owners, agents, site staff are talking about their best practices, what works for them, what doesn't. So not only do the owner agents and attendants learn, we really learn. We learn what you're going through. When we're talking about tenant selection plans, we hear what works great, what doesn't work, and everybody can take away something from each of us who are in attendance. So we hope to do more of those small group workshops coming up in the near future, and again, we will let you know when those are. We hope that you can all attend, and one of the 3 phases, we hope that you all can attend. We think it's a win-win. Clearly, as Al said, we'd like to do MORs again tomorrow. We're ready to do them. We want to come out. We want to provide that benefit to you all to ensure that you're in compliance. Hopefully that'll happen soon. If not, technical assistance program will continue. And that really, on the central processing side, vouchers continue to be run, contract renewals continue to be processed, rent adjustments continue to be put in place. So that really hasn't changed so much. Our staff in Albany are committed to getting things done as quickly as possible. I know sometimes the process can seem long, and we want to work with you. We want to get it done as quickly as possible. One thing I always say is no, HUD does not give us a kickback for keeping a rent adjustment going as long as possible. Quite the opposite. We're bound by time frames, and we need to get them done as quickly as possible. Certainly in contract renewals, we cannot let your subsidy lapse. So our eyes are always on those deadlines and year expirations. So the one thing I always say, get your paperwork in as soon as possible. Send a notification 6 months out. You should know better than we do when your contract expires, when your funding expires. So please, if at all possible, get that information in early so we can start the process as early as possible. If you're doing it 30 days before it expires, not good. Not good. That's too tight, because unless you're doing an auto OCAP, if you're doing a budget, heaven forbid, a month is certainly not enough time. So just something to keep in mind. And that, in a nutshell, is really where we are. We're still there. We made it through the storm. We will continue to be there to help you, to serve you as best we can. And if there's anything that anyone ever needs, you can give your contract specialist, your management assessment specialist, your the team leader, the area manager, or me a call. I always pick up the phone. I never dodge calls. Max calls all the time. We love to hear from him. So please, if you have questions, let me know. And with that, I can take some questions right now if anyone has. Yes.
I have a suggestion.
Okay, suggestions are good too.
On your small workshop, trainings I've gone to several, they're very good. I was at HUD 2 weeks ago. They had a training on permanent or housing marketing plans. Oh, I left there and I'm third class on here to say years into it. Like I was there. Can you do one? And also 504 training?
We could possibly do one. In terms of the marketing plan, when we were out doing MORs, we basically checked to see if there was one there. We don't approve them, we don't verify all the pieces are there. If we had a collaborative workshop where we could get you all together and you wanted to talk about that, absolutely, we'd be glad
I think
to.
it would be very helpful to everyone. I
Right.
never met a form I couldn't fill out. And I'm sure
I know that one's challenging.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It is a challenge, and they kept saying, I don't know how to speak here, but they kept saying, when you get rejected, when you get the reject letter, like, why are you being so negative? Don't you think you have a brain? You know what I mean?
I do.
So I think more training, and then about 504 training, you have to prove that you have 504 training, and it's just all of this, more and more and more and more, and I am 504, because my 504 certificate is a few years old. You know, it's like everything else, you can only renew so much.
Sure, sure. Yeah, you know, we all oftentimes put out there, what do you want to do? What do you want us to talk
It
about?
would help everybody,
And-
because everyone that was in that room left shaking.
Well, we might all just get together and shake our heads collectively. We'll be willing to put people together. We will. Anything else? Any other questions?
I just want to second that, third and fourth.
Well, I wish I'd attended that. I wish I could have shook my head too. Yes.
Couple of things. Regarding the MORs, assuming for the moment that everything stays on track and the process resumes, do you have an idea yet when at the point that MORs resume, will the first MOR retrospectively go back to cover the period of time they were suspended, or will they just start again going forward?
That's a very good question. And if you looked at the potential changes to the annual contributions contract, the contract that HTFC has with HUD, there were some pretty substantial changes to the MOR process as a whole. Gone were the days of, we do everybody. If you got an exceptional last year, we'll be out anyway. To a focus more on the unsatisfactory and below average MORs. So at least for a certain period of time, years actually, even when MORs start back up, if you had a satisfactory, above average, or exceptional on your last MOR, you're probably not going to see us for a while. That schedule would have to be determined by HUD so that we can concentrate, and perhaps rightly so, on projects that need a little more help. Need a little more help on their operations so we can really focus there. And I know that everybody would like to have an MO. I think that, you know, deep down it's kind of, you know, nerve-wracking process. I know. No one wants us. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're glad.
We miss you.
But I don't know the exact schedule of how they be rolled out. As we would transition into the new ACC, we would notify everyone who was on that list. We would submit our schedule to HUD and go forward.
And the second, oh, sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Just very brief. Who would I talk to about the small group workshops? Because our community room was not damaged by Hurricane
Well, that's
Sandy,
great.
so we could host one.
Excellent.
I'd be interested in hosting one for that section of Manhattan. So who would I speak to?
Well, you can call me in Albany. You can call the folks you deal with at any time, the contract specialist, the person who hands you your voucher. And if you can talk to someone in our Manhattan office to get something scheduled. It has been a while. I think Al and Jackie, who's in Portugal, probably loving life right now. We'll be glad to move back into that phase as time allows and get back out there in the field. Thanks.
Who do you call down the state office?
Who do you call?
Call Roland on that line?
Actually, there's some very sad news about Roland. I'm sad because he's going to be leaving us at the end of this week. He's going to be heading back out to retirement. Roland had a very illustrious career at Night Shift before he joined us. And he's headed back out to do some cooking and some traveling and just relaxing. So we wish him the best. But you can call Min Ju, who's Roland's counterpart in the office, Minjoo. She is the other team leader, and she can certainly assist you in scheduling a tap, be it a small group, individual, anything like that. She can help you. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. It's always a highlight to come here. I really do enjoy it, and I look forward to the next time.
Thank you very much. All right, we are a little ahead of schedule. A little ahead of schedule here for timing because we have a hard time at 11:15 to tie in with Washington. So let's see if we can get a little discussion going, and if not, I'll just let you take a break. But trying to draw, HUD has changed. I've been a HUD practitioner for quite some time, and Congress and Washington and the private sector, and HUD has changed, and it's been more complicated for all of you to run your projects than it used to be. It used to be the management reviews were pass-fail. Sometimes people would come out and inspect, sometimes they wouldn't. You had 20-year contracts, so you just renewed and you got your annual adjustment factors every year, and it was no big deal. Those things are now in the distant past, and each one of those has generated more work for each of us. I mean, you've heard about MORs, REACT, they come every year to every 3 years, depending on that. For those of you who have MARA contracts and your HAP renewals, you have a lot of decisions to make. You have various choices on how you renew. Also, HUD is much more conscious of how you operate your projects than they used to be. If you have MARA contracts, you may get MBI letters if you are not taking your reserve for replacements in the way they think. You're trying to use it, you're using operating money instead of reserve for replacement. When you're refinancing, one of the things that Teresa mentioned, there are new mortgagee letters that PCNAs they're concentrating on these much more than they did before. And that when you refinance, HUD wants to make sure before refinance that their portfolio is in good physical shape. It's not just all equity takeout. You're going to have to make sure the project is brought up to a standard they want to see. You also may get calls each year, even if you don't have a MARA contract. HUD is looking at how you are spending your resources, and they have these computer models in Washington that red flag certain expenditures that are too much or too little, and you will get calls from the project managers about that to explain why there is that variance. That never used to happen. This is what computers have brought you. So with all of these issues that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, let's bring out some of them. Issues you have, concerns. We have all the experts, both here from HUD, and also we have some of our board members who work with us. Oh, hi, yes.
Yeah, in New York City, the city council has issued a lot of local laws that have a tremendous impact on expenses. Things like Local Law 87, which is benchmarking and retro-commissioning. So we have to pay for a full energy audit of our buildings. I think it's once every 10 years, but this is the first cycle. a full energy audit, which could cost anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 to $20,000, depending on the size of your building. That scope of work is going to be, that energy audit is going to yield a scope of work that you're going to be required under New York City law to do. A lot of our HUD budgets haven't accounted for that, and we're just wondering if that's something that would be considered for replacement, reserved for replacement expense, because it is a requirement. And if not, if it's something that when we do budget-based rent increases, is that something that's going to be considered? Because although it's not a federal law and a federal mandate, it's something we in New York City have to do.
Well, we'll talk to Teresa in a minute. I mean, in the old days, you get special adjustments for things. And those are, once you get into a MARA contract, you don't have that anymore. I mean, you should know, and maybe I have been a big advocate for HUD implementing the flexibility that they have in MARA contracts. The statute and the regs allow for an alternative of a budget-based rent increase in lieu of an OCAP. That is in the regs. No new statutes are needed, no new regulations are needed, but HUD Washington has decided not to implement that provision, and in fact some of your contracts are written that they say only OCAP increases. That is not consistent with the statute, but they have the flexibility to do that.
And it's not consistent with the reality in New York, where local statutes could force HUD properties to incur additional expenses that market landlords can just increase rents to capture that cost, or borrow money, or do a host of other things and realize savings down the line. So it's going to be a positive thing for your building because it will be energy efficient, and maybe costs will go down in the future, but there's that initial outlay that right now is uncovered in our HUD property.
And you're right. I will just make one more thing that we could try and do. I would love to get, since I have fought a very lonely battle in Washington, seeing our senators and Congress people and everything about making what I call a local OCAP in lieu of a statewide OCAP. There is no reason for that. There is no reason for that. There could be a mandate that I have been advocating. When I was at HUD, Westchester used to be in the FMR area of New York City, and we wouldn't give special increases to Westchester, so they statutorily just took Westchester out and made it its own area. New York could force HUD's hand on that as well if we could get a statute passed to require New York City to be its own OCAP area. But it's not. Our costs are high. So those are some of the big picture items, but those are for the long run. If we get a consensus to try and push for a local OCAP rather than a statewide OCAP, which really reduces the OCAP for New York City because upstate has more problems. So it ties us down, and the OCAP figures don't reflect those costs that you're talking about. But maybe Teresa has some innovative ideas that she can do, although I don't think so, but maybe she can. You never know what Superwoman can come up with. She certainly can be flexible with your RFRs.
Yes, absolutely, we can be flexible with the reserve for replacement account. You have to abide by local law, whatever, law is out there. So as a result, if there's enough money in the R4R, yes, we can utilize those funds, we can approve it in order to address the initial outlay. Also, if it's possible, we can refinance.
With those projects that are marked down to market and that you have to use capital funds and you have the surplus cash calculation, are you open to requests to increase the R4R for this?
I'm going to have to defer to our mark-to-market people here to respond to that.
The Carol Galante memo, originally when she was DAS, that put the whole new requirement of capital versus operating, said where OCAP isn't enough and where there's a special case, that owners and agents could go into HUD and request for an increase in the R4R for new boilers or whatever he was talking about, these expenses, so it wouldn't fall through to the surplus cash calculation, which went to pay down the second and third mortgage. And I was just asking Teresa if she was open to requests for that due to New York City rules that would say that you had to accumulate operating cash in your replacement accounts to be able to use these things. you want this mic? Do you want to answer that? Or?
I don't need a mic, but I would say that you would just need to bring it up when you're doing the underwriting early on. But yes, I think we would be open to that.
We're underwriting, we're talking, it's already operating, it's already gone through mark to market, it's a markdown to market. He needs more money to address.
It's just you know, it's section 202 or a section 8 building that has a contract in place and we're getting our OCAP every year. But now the city of New York has said that we have to incur this, what could be significant expense, especially if it's an older building that has had a lot of deferred maintenance because we couldn't increase the rents to do capital work. Now we're going to be forced by the city of New York to do an energy efficiency plan that has to be implemented or we'll be out of compliance with city law. So it's a pretty serious issue for older buildings that are, you know, just chugging along and getting a 1 or 2% OCAF every year. This is an outlay of funds we're going to have to do. And granted, we will save money down the line once these things are done, but it doesn't change the fact that we need a big bundle of cash to pay for this.
So you're saying it's not an allocation of operating versus capital because your rents aren't high enough. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, those buildings where the rents are high in there, every year they're generating surplus cash, great, they can do it. But my buildings aren't like that typically.
The only thing I can suggest is to write to Washington, write to your people about, you know, Section 8 is very short, so you're not going to get a good reception. And I've been arguing this for years, but they do have the regulatory authority to accept a budget-based rent increase in lieu of an OCAP. They just have not implemented it.
But in the meantime, if we do have, you know, reserve for replacement funds that can be utilized to, you know, address the initial cash outlay, you can always request that.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just that our experience upstate with the Buffalo office has been, well, then refinance your property. That's been their answer.
Has been what, I'm sorry?
With the Buffalo office upstate, our experience has been when we go to them with a situation like that, with large capital improvement, that we want to get creative with doing this or that, maybe getting a temporary rent increase to cover. Their answer is just refinance the property.
Well, I mean, refinancing the property is a method, you know, to address that. However, you know, each case is different. I mean, if that's a consistent response that you're getting, you can call me, and we can discuss it. I don't know the particulars of your development, so.
Any more questions or issues that you're having with the various things we talked about? PCNA, options of mark-to-market renewals that are sometimes very complicated to decide which option you want to take. Okay, I guess then it's break time. We have, take about a 20-minute break. We have things, and let's get together because Delta Nichols, we have a hard time at 11:15.